I started filming these months before summer. I don't remember exactly when, but for me it was centuries ago. My grandma bought these papers where she lives, and my dad brought them here when he visited me in New Year's Eve. It took me a while to start making the journals, but at some point, that was the only thing I was doing. I was cutting papers exactly like the same way I cut my own. I love these deckle edges. I had to search this on the internet. And I also love that not a single tree was cut to make these beautiful papers. The question that I get the most is where are my papers and journals from? And I guess you know by now that I actually make them. They are pretty imperfect. There are pages bigger than others. The edges are uneven, but I guess that's the way I like them. I've been making them this way for years now, and for me, they are beautiful, and I couldn't make them differently. I spent weeks trying to find beautiful things for the packaging. I was also thinking about giving a second life to everything. I remember that every single time I open a Happy Mail, I try to use everything. So I was thinking that you could also use these beautiful ribbons in your pages after opening the wrapping paper. Like, however, I'm getting ahead of myself here. You can see that in like 20 minutes or something. I just kept cutting papers and counting pages to see how many journals I could make with the papers I had. I realized that I could only make 18, so I took a trip and came back home with more papers. For the rest of the summer, we had to move to my mom's house because our house was and still is under construction, and the noise is, let's just say, like I cannot film there.
I also have one just sitting here too.
I kept cutting papers and making journals for the rest of the month, basically.
Thank you so much. Anything else besides the pair? Well, no, that should do my unframe. Yep, that's me. Yes.
There is a movie that I was waiting for so long, and I watched it that morning, which made me really, really happy. I watched Didi by my favorite film company, A24, while I organized the papers. I arranged them by type. Some of them had different flowers and colors, so I spent a couple of hours doing that. And when I thought I didn't have any energy left, I started making journals with all the papers I had. I chose papers and flipped through pages for hours to see how I like them. And once I was done, I put them on my shelf, and basically all my mornings were all the same.
Yeah. So I want to get this straight.
Hold on. Bro, cheese is texting me.
What's your address? You know what? Don't even tell me. I know your mom. Your dad works here.
Once I was done making the notebooks, I wanted to take a break from them. And I started thinking about decorations and thank you cards. I also bought these cards at the same store I always buy the papers from, but I only had 30, so I had to make 10 more because I didn't have enough for all 40 journals, so that's what I did. I think this was in the afternoon. I was watching Reservation Dogs. A lot of movies and TV series kept me company while I was creating all these, and I will be forever grateful to them. I brought the flowers in a can because, of course, I had to include them. There was a week in September when the workers didn't come home and did nothing, so I kept so happy. So I kept making the thank you cards there. And here I was also watching Reservation Dogs.
AKA running away. You realize how worried we were about you guys?
You're a bad influence.
There's all kinds of weird.
Ground a Willie check if she hits med laws. But I'm glad you guys went. I think it was what you were supposed to do.
Grandma says I'm too young to be a grandma. Like, actually look at us. You're looking at me.
I think I'm a liar, man.
Yeah, I think you're a fucking liar.
No. Fucking Indian car. Get her next door. Get her next door.
What kind of Indian are you? You don't need to smell a cedar? Of course. Holy shit. You really dropped the ball on this one, man. Could have been a moon, man.
That is when you get your goal.
A couple of days later, I wanted to include some freebies with the journals, of course. So I found some envelopes. I bought them and started decorating them, which is always my favorite part.
I'm filling out paperwork for school. Some financial aid.
My fingers looked weird because I couldn't find the time to change my nails and they were getting so long, and I felt I was like Edward Scissorhands. It was so weird.
Don't get anytime soon.
I was point guard.
Seatbelts.
Will you come back and visit?
I'll come by a lot.
I wanted to include some of my favorite stamps I got from Cafe Analog, and I opened my personal paper collection and include some of my favorite stationery there. Oh, and here it was when I started watching Prison Break. I didn't watch it when I was in high school, and my boyfriend told me to give it a try, and I did. I'm liking it so far. Here I was watching season 1, but I'm currently on season 3. Yeah, almost season 4.
See, what's he looking at?
Carved, best friend.
No. His eye line is his face from the camera. He comes back in. Why?
To explain the bloody pants they'd already planted in his apartment.
I also included some Korean stickers I bought while I was in Seoul. Of course, every envelope is different, but every single one of them have the same amount of things.
All clear. Sick bay. Over.
Let the fools worry about the numbers. You worry about how you're going to drill through a 6-inch concrete wall with what used to be an egg. I just need a... You ready to go?
Not yet, boss. Get her in formation. Going back in. Not yet.
All these months making the journals, I created and accumulated a lot of leftover papers, and those are 100% my favorite papers to journal with. I couldn't keep them all to myself, that's unfair, so I decided to make little packages, like little paper bags. The first thing that I had to do was arrange them by type of paper and then making little mountains so everybody could receive the same amount and the same type of papers. It was difficult, especially for my bag, but I took breaks and decorate the envelopes.
Midwestern life and casualty.
I'm already covered. Thanks.
Oh, no, I'm here to discuss Veronica Donovan.
What about it?
Well, we've...
What do you take it?
Let's get to it.
This room was getting a little too dark. You made it big.
Are you telling me that there's a hole in Fox River that you don't want to get into?
Latino population. How is it that
Of course, they also needed to have hydrangeas.
big part of the nation's
I'm a little bit scared, honestly, because I don't want them to fall. I don't know if it was a good idea, but please just let me know. I wanted the envelope to look like a page of mine, so I wrote in Spanish for your notebook.
No thanks, I brought my own.
I put those papers inside, and finally it was time to finish the journals. Living in an island sometimes sucks. I'm really sorry, I talk way too much about this, but sometimes it's not great. Like, I love it, but sometimes for things like this, it's not great, especially because we don't have Amazon or anything. And if you are searching for one thing specifically and you cannot find it here, it's really difficult. And I try to buy, of course, in small stores all the time. I don't buy things online, only stationery and from small stores. I don't know. I'm talking. I'm rambling. I'm talking way too much about this. But I had to ask all my family and friends and random people, like, do you know any store or where to find freaking wax thread? And I found black, a lot of black thread, but I wanted beige. I found beige, but it was huge for the needle, so I bought new needles, and they were too big, and I didn't want to create craters on your journals, so I had to keep looking and searching. I didn't know if I needed new needles or new wax thread at this point. I was really worried, honestly. I thought I couldn't make it, but finally, my mom, of course, knew a little store, and I finally found tons of them, different colors. I was going to buy beige, but my favorite color is green, and this green was beautiful to me, so I thought, like, what if? And it happened. I just bought it. It was my first time making them this way. I've been making my own journals with staples, so I thought I needed to make an extra effort for you. And I know they aren't perfect. I watched tons of tutorials and I really try my best. I really enjoyed this part, honestly. I think it was my favorite one.
POC's still doing a sweep of Oswego, but the guys are basically vanished. I wouldn't be so sure.
Tell me everything you know about the courthouse.
If I'm damn sure you have to report to the DOC headquarters, I will meet you there, sir.
Last night on your mama.
You have to know before buying. Like I said before, my journals are not perfect. Some of the pages are bigger than others. You can see lots of imperfections, but that's the way I like creating my own journals, and I thought I could share them so they can make you happy as well. Here you can see how they look like. I was choosing which one was the cover. Of course, you can choose that at home. I was just thinking, if this was my journal, I would love to start journaling in this page.
Come on, come on, come on.
At the back of the journal, a couple of days later, I stamped my initials just because I realized I didn't have my name or my initials or I don't know anything on them, and I wanted to sign them somehow. I don't own a personal stamp, but just using this one that has been with me since I was 17, I think it was more than enough. This is at the back of the journal, so you can always put a sticker on it or whatever you want, really. You can hide it, of course. I've always loved with all my heart wrapping my loved ones' presents and decorating and making wrapping paper as beautiful as I can, even though it always ends in the trash. But here I wanted to do the same. I wanted to use the same wrapping paper my family used for my birthdays and for their birthdays and for Christmas. So I bought a couple of huge rolls and started wrapping.
Bienvenidos a tu casa. Thank you. Es que se ve claramente.
La verdad que impresionante. Se nota el poderío.
Despídete. Muchas gracias, Bob.
Muchísimas gracias, Bob. Se ha enfadado de verdad, O sea, estoy trabajando. No, está de boca, pero no está la puerta de boga.
Exacto, no. Esto es boe.
Esto es muy bueno. Yo le daría 5.
Yo le daría 5.
¿Cuál es estos corazoncitos ahí? Eso no lo puedes comprar.
¿Esto no puedo cogerlo?
Tienes que ir a una sala con zarrapos para ver. Es que me parece.
Ahora entiendo lo que significa.
Estás de composición.
Anterior y si no lo habéis visto pues vamos a devolver nuestra moto de alquiler que hemos tenido por 4 días, unas cositas más interesantes. Vamos a pasar allí solo una noche así que nada, acompañarnos. Nos despedimos ya de este hotel que la verdad que no, o sea, puedes hacer pis viendo las pistas de los arrozales. Antes de irnos tenemos que pagar al alojamiento, ahora os cuento cuánto nos han salido las 4 noches y nos vamos para Candy. El bus hay que pararlo en marcha y te subes en marcha. Si no sabes a dónde va, pues te aguantas. Los de la moto nos lo han parado a nosotros. ¿No ha costado? O sea, tengo su propio café, o sea que tenía que ser bueno. Así que cuando volvamos de hacer turisteo y tal, pues nos daremos un bañito, espero, porque aquí no hace tanto calor. No salía de la cafetería, se ha puesto a llover, ha parado a los 10 minutos, pero... Habitación de aquí. Y aquí está la gente haciendo ofrendas, rezando y todo eso.
I'm going to be honest. At this point, I was seeing the light. I thought I was never going to finish this project. I thought it was impossible. It took me forever. But of course, I'm alone. I was working alone, and I enjoy it. But at the same time, oh my god. Yeah. So the last step is my dad coming here. I will give him a box full of journals and envelopes full of papers, and he is going to travel back to his city, and he will send the package to Hani and Cafe Analog all the way to Amsterdam. And yeah, the package will make a long trip, but I just don't trust mail offices here. Like, I don't trust. Yeah, I just don't trust them. I know with my dad it will be in good hands. I wanted to film all this process so you know exactly what you're buying. I wanted to be fully transparent. I wanted to show you how they look like, how I make my own journals, how imperfect they are, and how much I love them. And lastly, my boyfriend drove us to the forest so we could finally finish this long story in a beautiful place.